America can look unbelievably rich from 30,000 feet and strangely broken from the sidewalk. The economy is still growing. Household wealth is measured in the hundreds of trillions of dollars. New technologies are creating fortunes. Yet millions of people feel one rent increase, one medical bill, or one car repair away from panic. If you want clear breakdowns like this, subscribe to Faultline America. Because this contradiction is not imaginary, it is built into the difference between how prosperity is measured and how daily life is experienced. In the first quarter of 2026, real U.S. GDP grew at a 2.1% annual rate. The Federal Reserve says household and nonprofit net worth stood at about $183 trillion. On paper, that is enormous wealth. But here's where things get interesting. Aggregate wealth is not the same thing as financial security. In the Fed's 2025 household survey, 58% of adults said price changes had made their financial situation worse. 16% said they had not paid all their bills in the previous month. 23% of renters said they had fallen behind on rent at some point in the past year. And 63% said they could cover a $400 emergency expense using cash or its equivalent. In other words, a country can get richer while a large share of its people still feel financially exposed. Look at housing. The Census Bureau says median monthly owner costs for homeowners with a mortgage reached $2,035 in 2024. Median gross rent reached $1,487. Those are national medians, which means they can hide even more pressure in expensive cities and regions. Look at healthcare. The United States spent $5.3 trillion on healthcare in 2024, about $15,474 per person, and 18% of the entire economy. Yet 26% of adults told the Federal Reserve they had skipped medical care because of cost in the previous year. And then there is homelessness. HUD counted 745,652 people experiencing homelessness on a single night in January 2025, including 266,320 people living without shelter. That total was down from 2024, but it was still 27% higher than in 2013. This is not what poverty at the national level looks like. It is what a rich country with severe access problems can look like. And if you're following where America is heading, hit subscribe. Because the biggest part of this story is the conflict over what the word economy even means. Politicians can say America is booming. Critics can say ordinary people are being squeezed, and both can point to real numbers because they are answering different questions. GDP tells you how much the economy produces. National wealth tells you the value of assets minus liabilities. Neither number tells you whether a specific family can afford rent, childcare, insurance, a prescription, or a surprise repair this month. That is why Americans often seem to be living in different economies. People who own homes, stocks, or businesses can benefit when asset values rise. People who do not own those assets can experience higher costs without receiving the same wealth gains. One group sees opportunity, another sees a bill, one sees a rising market. Another sees a rent notice, and that's the part people are angry about. The debate is often framed as a choice between saying America is successful or saying America is broken. But the more uncomfortable answer is that both conditions can exist at the same time. A country can lead in technology, finance, and innovation. While millions of households remain one setback away from serious trouble, it can spend more per person on healthcare than any other OECD country and still have people skip care because they cannot afford it. It can create enormous wealth while making stability feel harder to reach for people who do not already own appreciating assets. So the real question is not whether America is rich. The real question is, who can turn that national prosperity into a stable life? Do you think the country is actually broken, or is it going through a painful transition that the numbers are failing to explain? Subscribe to Faultline America, leave a like, and tell me in the comments what you think America's wealth is actually worth if millions of people still do not feel secure.